Jeff the Landshark has the most mysterious lore out of all the characters in Marvel Rivals. After looking at Jeff's story, I believe he has an event that makes him not only a comic relief, but also makes him the biggest threat in Marvel Rivals. If you didn't know, every character in Marvel Rivals has their own lore that plays into a bigger story. For Jeff the Landshark, it's called Sharknado. Here we start off with Jeff inside a tank, and he's stuck in a strange theme park created by the Collector, which we'll talk more about later. What's strange is Jeff has no idea how he got in this tank. He was hanging out with Gwenpool and all of a sudden was magically put in the tank. Jeff looking around, it wasn't just him there. Just like Jeff, there was many different people in the same tank, but out of all of them we meet Mantis, who plays a big role in Jeff's story. She took a liking to Jeff because out of everyone in their tank, Jeff has an outgoing personality and had a bright aura to him. Then Jeff hears these psionic screams. This came from Mantis being dragged out from her cell. The screams then stopped. Jeff became worried for his newfound friend, so Jeff thought of a plan to get out of the tank. So he went around and around in circles, then propelled himself to the ceiling, but it didn't break. All that effort ended up hurting him instead. There was no chance Jeff was getting out of here by himself. Until Mantis came, joined with Psylocke. With their help, he was able to get out of the tank and join the two girls. While escaping, things become interesting. Jeff stops following Psylocke and Mantis and went into this place called the Private Gallery. There he found 6 glowing stones, a glowing cube, a gem, and a scroll. Jeff hasn't eaten in a while, so he ate them. Yup, just like that. After getting back with Mantis and Psylocke, they fight a crap ton of goons, eventually getting to a spacecraft to escape. But before flying off, Jeff wanted to save the rest of the people in the theme park. Mantis then tells Jeff they'll come back and save all of them. Then they flew off. In short, that's how Jeff's lore in Sharknado ends. After reading all of Jeff's lore, 3 questions came to mind. How did Jeff magically get into the tank? What happens after the spacecraft? And why did the writers make Jeff eat the artifacts? For the first question, we would think the Collector has something to do with it. I mean, the place Jeff was trapped in was made by the Collector. Just in case if you don't know who the Collector is, he's this powerful grandpa looking dude. The Collector has this weird obsession with, well, collecting, specifically rare and valuable things in the universe to add to his collection. And he even captures living beings. He's not really a bad guy or a good guy per se. The Collector is more neutral. I see him as someone showing you his Pokemon binder with rare cards in them, but he got those cards through illegal ways. So with that information, the Collector's motive for taking Jeff is pretty simple. Jeff is a rare animal, a shark that has legs. We don't usually see that. Due to that, you would think that would be enough for the Collector to take him out of nowhere. But it wasn't the Collector that teleported Jeff there. After doing some further research, Jeff was teleported there due to an event called the Time Stream Entanglement. The Time Stream Entanglement was caused by Doom and his 2099 counterpart. This event turned multiple timelines into one, explaining why and all of the characters in Marvel Rivals are in the same place. Now there's the whole story of Marvel Rivals' entire lore, but we'll get to that in a different video. Right now, we're focused on our boy Jeff. So it was a coincidence that Jeff just so happens to be put in the Collector's theme park. With that information, we know how Jeff got there. But now we get into my second question. What happens after going in the spacecraft? The 2 other people related to Jeff's story might have something to do with it. So I looked at both girls' lore, Psylocke and Mantis. First, let's take a look at Mantis' lore. The start of her story, she was hanging out with everyone that was a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And out of nowhere, she was put into a tank just like Jeff. After a bit, she gets taken to this arena, where another Mantis is. We'll call her Mantis number 2. The Collector tells them to fight to the death, but they don't, and instead, Mantis number 2 uses her antennas on Mantis to help her get into the astral plane. Due to that, Mantis gets out of her body, leading her to be reborn because of a plant nearby. Sounds weird, but trust me, it makes sense. Mantis then breaks Psylocke from her enclosure, because both Mantis and Psylocke have psychic powers and they become friends for that reason. And that's where we go to Jeff. That's where they fight some goons, leading them to the spacecraft. Mantis' story didn't add much new information, but now we know how she escaped when the guards took her in Jeff's point of view. But how about Psylocke? In her story, basically what happens is that she was in her timeline in feudal Japan, then like Mantis and Jeff, got ripped out of her timeline by the Time Stream Entanglement, putting her in a tank. Then this is where Mantis saves Psylocke, but before saving Jeff, Psylocke says that he will cause trouble and there's really no point of saving him. Mantis ignores her and helps Jeff escape anyways. Here's where the story becomes different. In Psylocke's point of view, 2, we get to look at what happens after the spacecraft. So they went inside, flew off, while another ship was following them. Then they find this alien called the Akantai making a wailing noise. Mantis does her psychic power stuff, telling the creature for help. It somehow works and they go inside its mouth. But it wasn't a safe escape, since there are blood hatchlings, which are these weird aliens. So all 3 of them fought the aliens and progressed further into the Akantai's stomach. Okay, pause for a sec. So I'm thinking, how are the 3 gonna escape? Are they gonna go all the way to get out of here, or will they go back to the mouth? After some time has passed, they reach the Akantai's stomach, where they find the Brood Queen. Psylocke uses her telepathic powers and makes the Brood Queen feel what the Akantai is feeling. Due to that, all the Brood hatchlings and the Brood Queen escape through the Akantai's mouth, going into the void, aka outer space. By taking out those brood hatchlings out of the Akantai's stomach, the Akantai was thankful, so Mantis asked the creature to go to the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. Except they didn't get to Wakanda, since Mantis got a distress signal from Star-Lord, Rocket, and Groot. They crashed at a planet called Clintar, where Jeff, Mantis, and Psylocke went instead. Okay, that was incredibly bizarre. Going inside aliens to fight aliens, you know, the usual. As of now, that's how Jeff's story ends until we get more information once he gets to Clintar. Now we know what happens after going to the spacecraft, taking me to the question why this whole video was made. Why did the writers make Jeff eat the artifacts? Here's what it says in Sharknado. Before he realized what he was doing, Jeff had veered off from his companion, entering the collector's private gallery. Here, the Elder of the Universe had gathered some of the most powerful items and artifacts in all of existence, and was displaying them for his wealthiest patrons to gaze upon. Jeff didn't know what any of these strange things were. Not the 6 colorful stones, nor the glowing cube, nor the otherworldly crimson gem, nor the flaming demonic scroll. But he did know one thing. He hadn't eaten in a very long time. Jeff's instinct took control. He opened his tiny jaws wide and started to swallow down almost everything in the gallery as quickly as he could. Alarms began to blare, but it didn't stop Jeff from consuming one object of power after another. After reading that text, I just find it weird that the writers added that. Why didn't they make Jeff go to the Starcraft immediately? It can't be just a funny gag, making me think that this event will affect the plot later on. But the real question is, how will it affect the plot later on? One of my guesses is that it was used to put more attention on Jeff, making him play a bigger role in the plot in Marvel Rivals. Since it's very easy to just see Jeff as a cute character, it's more notable in Psylocke and Mantis' story, where it's told that Jeff is just there to be there. The reason Mantis helped Jeff was because of his outgoing personality, while Psylocke didn't even want to save Jeff. So by having Jeff eat the artifacts, we don't see him as a background character that will get overshadowed. Instead, we pay more attention to him, since he literally ate some of the most powerful items in Marvel. The artifacts he ate are the Infinity Stones, which was the 6 colorful stones. The glowing cube, I want to say, is the Cosmic Cube. The Crimson Gem is the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak. The Flaming Demonic Scroll is kind of unknown. I'll explain more on what these artifacts do later. So by eating these artifacts, this gave me the theory that Jeff the Landshark has the potential to be a cosmic level threat. Let me explain. In It's Jeff Infinity comic issue number 35, we see him licking the Infinity Stones. By licking the green one, he gets these big arms, then the blue one where he gets some weird tentacles, then the red one where he gets these laser eyes. Jeff then gathers all 6 Infinity Stones, putting them into this ball and ate it, turning him into this weird creature. However, in the Marvel Rivals lore for Sharknado, he doesn't become this big monster. If you remember, he was still normal, making me think there is something deeper going on. One option is that Jeff can digest the artifacts and just do a number 2, but I doubt that's the case since those are powerful artifacts. Another guess is he could puke the artifacts up, then all the other heroes can use the artifacts. Or he could use the artifacts himself. This is where Jeff can become a big threat. In It's Jeff Infinity comic issue number 7, Jeff was able to steal weapons and gadgets of Captain America, Miles Morales, and other heroes. Then Jeff used their own weapons against them and actually took all of them out. This shows that Jeff is able to use other weapons. I say all that, but what will Jeff even be able to do with the artifacts? Let's start with the Infinity Stones. If Jeff were to puke the Infinity Stones out and use them, he literally becomes omnipotent, meaning Jeff has unlimited power and can do anything. Jeff getting the Infinity Stones means he has the power of time, space, reality, mind, and soul. I find it weird that Jeff has all 6 Infinity Stones in his belly and it doesn't harm him in any way. So I think I'm onto something. Another artifact was the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak. Now there's a lot of lore behind Cyttorak, him being this powerful being, but we won't be diving deep into that. What the gem does is it gives you superhuman abilities, such as strength, stamina, and being able to take hits from like Hulk, which not a lot of normal people can do. This artifact I don't see Jeff really utilizing. I see it as more of a plot point, possibly putting Juggernaut in Marvel Rivals. However, the next artifact is completely different. The other artifact that was mentioned that Jeff ate was the Glowing Cube, which has a high chance of being the Cosmic Cube. This Cosmic Cube can control matter and energy, which means Jeff can do things like create anything from thin air, making mountains bigger, and even creating time portals. An example of what the Cosmic Cube can do is most known by Red Skull. He was once able to use the cube to alter reality and erase Captain America out of existence, adding further that Jeff can be a big threat for the Marvel Rivals universe. Next is the final artifact, which is the Flaming Demonic Scroll. I'm not gonna lie, is unknown. I've done some research that it could be the Darkhold. The Darkhold is an item that contains powerful dark magic, spells, and is considered the most potent record of dark magic. This dude made Chthon made it. He put a bunch of spells onto scrolls, then they were brought together to make the Darkhold. A lot of fans have said that it can't be the Darkhold since it plays a big part in Marvel Rivals lore, where Dracula was using it to take over the world, then Doctor Strange was like, nuh-uh, taking the book to the astral plane, where Doctor Strange doesn't even know where it is. I guess I have is the scroll that Jeff ate was a part of the Darkhold, since the Darkhold is just a bunch of scrolls mushed together. Another guess is that it could be the Scroll of Watum, a scroll that gives the user quicker and safer control of Winds of Watum, which is used to make a whirlwind of sorts. This scroll is mainly used by Doctor Strange, but it doesn't really look demonic or flaming. But again, we can only guess. So what does this all mean? To summarize Jeff's story, Jeff was hanging out with Gwenpool, then the time entanglement happens, putting him into a tank, where he's saved by Mantis and Psylocke, then went on a spacecraft where they went inside an alien's mouth, now headed to Clintar to meet up with Rocket, Groot, and Star-Lord. I find it interesting that Jeff's, Mantis, and Psylocke's story all introduced the Collector, so he could also play a big part in the story, mainly being on the evil side. I mean, he tried to make two of the Mantis fight to the death, so I don't think he'll be a good guy. If you remember, there was a part where Jeff didn't want to leave, since there was many others stuck in the theme park. But Mantis says they'll come back for them, kind of hinting that the heroes will be in the theme park again and fight the Collector, which can be pretty interesting. Since this is just the start of the story, there's still a lot of mystery. Like what happens once the three get to Clintar? Another mystery is, will Jeff ever see Gwenpool again? Making me curious since Gwenpool does have fourth wall breaking powers, meaning she could come to the Marvel Rivals universe and even be a playable character. Then there's the scroll, which is probably the biggest mystery. I want to guess that the scroll will play a big part in the story moving forward. Maybe Jeff meets someone who knows what the scroll is. But out of all the things that I read on this lore, the thing that made Jeff's lore stand out is that he has always been this comedic sidekick that doesn't add much to the story. If Mantis didn't save Jeff, her and Psylocke's escape could have been way quicker, and not much of a difference would have happened. But I think that's where the writers changed Jeff from being that side character to possibly being an important part in the story, simply by having Jeff eat those artifacts. We take more notice of him. Like I said, Jeff could be a big threat, but that's over exaggerating it. So my big question to you, if you were to get anything out of this video, does Jeff play a bigger role in Marvel Rivals story, or was Jeff eating the artifacts just a comedic joke? With that, today we learned the lore of Jeff the Landshark. If you're interested in more deep dives like this, make sure to watch this video. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.